behavior of a perfect person. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Haribo. She gets it. Got him.
So, yeah, it's a great honor actually to be able to speak about Srila Prabhupada. I'm really not qualified, but by your blessings, maybe I can say something which will be of importance and proper glorification of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, whose position is extremely impossible to understand how elevated he is. So, in this chapter, the behavior of a perfect person, in 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is actually describing the conversation between Prahlad Maharaj and a saintly person whom Prahlad Maharaj found somewhere in his traveling. Prahlad Maharaj, we know, the greatest Mahajan, one of the greatest Mahajans, incredibly wonderful, pure devotee of the Lord, because of whom Lord Nrsimhadev appeared. So, once upon a time, when he was a king, so he decided to travel around in the world and find saintly persons and study their behavior for his own purification in his humility, and for then sharing his realizations about the behavior of a perfect person with others. As a king, as a leader, he has a responsibility. He felt this responsibility upon himself to enlighten his subjects, and in his humility he thought himself he was not enlightened enough. So he was traveling around, and he came upon a person who was, because he was such an advanced devotee, so he could understand. It is said like that if one is on the same level or on a higher level, you can understand where the other person is. But when we are on a lower level, it's very difficult for us to judge. So that person was definitely judged by normal people, so-called like ordinary people, to be maybe a very fallen person, a crazy person, somebody who is not worthy of respect at all. But because that person was actually laying on the ground like a madman, or somebody who, like, you can just understand, just laying on the ground. And he was, but Prahlad Maharaj could understand that that person has actually very elevated spiritual consciousness, very wonderful qualities. And he was kind of struck by wonder, and he started to inquire from him. He first asked, who are you? You appear to be so well nourished and a little fatty, like a person who is really well to do, but you are just laying here on the ground and not doing anything absolutely whatsoever for your maintenance. And then that great personality started to speak, and one of these verses we will read today. He says, the living entity tries to achieve happiness and rid himself of the causes of distress. But because the various bodies of the living entities are under the full control of material nature, all his plans in different bodies, one after another, are ultimately baffled. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Because the materialist is in gross ignorance of how the laws of material nature act upon him as a result of his fruitive activity, he mistakenly plans to enjoy bodily comfort in a human form of life through so-called economic development, through pious activities for elevation to the higher planetary systems, and in many other ways, but factually he becomes a victim of the reactions of his fruitive activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated as the Supersoul within the course of the hearts of all living entities. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The desires and activities of the living being are observed by the Supersoul, who is the Upadrashta, the overseer, and who orders material nature to fulfill the various desires of the living being. As clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and as one desires, the Lord gives one various types of bodies, which are like machines. Riding on such a machine, the living entity wanders throughout the universe under the control of material nature and its modes. Thus the living being is not at all free to act, but is fully under the control of material nature, which is fully under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as a living entity is victimized by material desires to lord it over material nature, he is subjected to the control of material nature, which is supervised by the Supreme Soul. The result is that one again and again makes plans and is baffled. But as foolish as he is, he cannot see the cause of his bafflement. This cause is distinctly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Because one has not surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must work under the control of material nature and its stringent laws. The only means of becoming free from this entanglement is to surrender to the Supreme Lord. In the human form of life, the living entity must accept this instruction from the Supreme Person Krishna. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Do not plan to achieve happiness and drive away distress. You will never be successful. Simply surrender unto me. Unfortunately, however, the living entity does not accept the Supreme Lord's clearly stated instructions from Bhagavad Gita, and thus he becomes a perpetual captive of the laws of material nature. If one does not act for the satisfaction of Krishna, who is known as Vishnu or Yagya, he must be entangled in the reactions of fruitive activities. These reactions are called papa and punya, sinful and pious. By pious activities, one is elevated to the higher planetary systems, and by impious activities, one is degraded to the lower species of life, in which he is punished by the laws of nature. In the lower species of life, there is an evolutionary process, and when the term of the living entity's imprisonment or punishment in the lower species is finished, he is again offered a human form and given a chance to decide for himself which way he should plan. If he again misses this opportunity, he is again put into the cycle of birth and death, going sometimes higher and sometimes lower, turning on the samsara chakra, the wheel of material existence. As the wheel sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down, the stringent laws of material nature make the living entity in material existence sometimes happy and sometimes distressed. How he suffers in a cycle of happiness and distress is described in the next verse.
Vanchakalpatarvyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shuniradi Pashtapideshakarine.
So, yes, so maybe you may wonder why today on Srila Prabhupada's Dissapearance, this verse which describes the material existence I chose. But actually, it is in the glorification of Srila Prabhupada, because this verse is such a beautiful condensed knowledge, beautiful transcendental knowledge, which just if we take that to our heart and really try to surrender unto this knowledge, we will become completely and forever happy in Krishna's service in the spiritual world. And there are so many millions of verses, or I don't know how many, but practically every verse which Srila Prabhupada writes his purports to either Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, is loaded with that incredible, transcendental, intense spiritual knowledge, which is meant for deliverance of each and every one of us. It's expression of Srila Prabhupada's deepest compassion for each and every one of us. Srila Prabhupada, indeed, when he was writing his purports to the translation of the Vedic literatures, so he said that he could actually, by Krishna's mercy, perceive all of us within 10,000 years or maybe more, come in Kali Yuga, who will be somehow or another subjected to his mercy and be able to receive his compassion. And like he started this lavine, you can say, the bowl, which is rolling on, and more fortunate souls in the entire world are able to get this most wonderful, liberating, transcendental knowledge, and not only liberating transcendental knowledge. Srila Prabhupada being situated in Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, so he is opening the door because of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He appeared in the Sampradaya, so he opened the door to Goloka Vrindavan. For each and every one of us, actually, we can enter this most wonderful, sweet mood of Madhurya Dham in the most sweet relationship in Goloka Vrindavan. So this is actually something incredible because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears just once per day of Lord Brahma. So this is incredibly long time. This cycle of 4 yugas. We know that Kali Yuga is the shortest of these 4 ages. So this is just 432,000 years, just, and this is shortest. And then 72 of these cycles. This is. I'm sorry, I should have prepared the calculations in like billions and billions and billions of years. Just once per that incredibly long time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only one who, actually Lord Krishna, he appears after Lord Krishna. So Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, not in his incarnations, but as the Swayam Bhagavan, as the Supreme Lord, he comes once per day of Lord Brahma, and following afterwards comes Lord Chaitanya. Because Krishna, yes, Krishna opens the door to Goloka, but very few actually are ready to accept it. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to just somehow or another these seeds which are planted, and to plant even more seeds, just liberate everyone together with his devotees, with his pure devotees. His pure devotees are described in the Shastra to be his weapons. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has his army. And he is using his personal associates, whom Srila Prabhupada is one of the very close, most intimate associates. So he is using them in this war with Maya to bring us all out of the subjugation of Maya and Kali. It's actually, like, just to mention, in Shishi Panchatattva, who is the complete incarnation of the Supreme Lord in this age, Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Lord, then Lord Nityananda as his first expansion, as Lord Balaram, incarnation of Lord Balaram, the Supreme Spiritual Master. Then comes Advaita Acharya Prabhu, who is non-different from Mahavishnu and Sadashiva, who is the incarnation. This is actually, in that form, the Lord is the glands in which the Lord impregnates the material nature with living beings who have fallen from the spiritual sky and who need to take this journey back home, back to Godhead. So this is his glance of extreme compassion. If he would have been, let us say, cruel God, or very or just God. Okay, you have left me. You were envious of me. I close my door to you. You can be either somewhere suspended in existence, or the Lord could have done whatever. Or just punish us very hard and eternally be actually separated from him. But no, it's actually incredible. The Lord is so kind. He reciprocates with the desire of everyone. He gives us all freedom. And he is fulfilling all of our desires, little by little. Maybe in one life we have one desire. The desire is we don't have the karma for that in that life. But one day we will definitely get fulfillment of this desire. For that we have to be born again and again to fulfill all these desires. But there is one time when Krishna does not regard our desire. And this is his supreme love and compassion. When we have actually fallen from the spiritual world, we wanted to come to the material world. We wanted to be independent, enjoy and control and imitate him. But he does not regard that. He still is with us as a super soul in the heart of each and every one of us. and is directing us little by little to come back to Him, life after life after life. Maybe it takes some time to liberate one soul. It takes for that particular soul creation after creation. It is described that at the end of one creation, Sankarshan, of one universe, Lord Sankarshan, who is there behind Garbhodakashaya Vishnu as his shield and as a bat, he is also assisting in this destructive part of the destruction of the universe when it's time. And it is said that when is the time, the Lord has been patient and tolerant through so many kalpas, through such a long time, hundreds of days of Lord Brahma. 100 of years, please forgive me, 100 years of Lord Brahma. So then it's time of destruction of the universe. And the Lord has been patient, and somehow or another, through His devotees, through His own endeavors, through the Shastras, through whatever means He could, He was inspiring all of us to take on this path back to Godhead and get out of here. Go back home, because it is said that the greatest pain, the Lord is, in spite of enjoying His eternal pastimes in the spiritual world, still there is a pain in His heart. And the pain is for each and every one of us who have left Him. So Lord Sankarshan, at the time of the destruction of the universe, he actually becomes angry. And it is said that suppression of his disappointment, of his frustration, with those of us who somehow or other could not, in spite of all of his endeavors to help us to go back to Godhead, we rejected that. We did not want to take advantage of that. So he becomes angry. And then a great fire of devastation emanates from his mouth, unlimited mouth, and he burns the universe. But the Lord is tolerating and trying to somehow or another encroach upon our desire in one way or another to stay here. And his devotees like Srila Prabhupada, they are the great instruments in his lotus hands. Srila Prabhupada, he mentioned that our movement is aggressive movement. We are not tolerant. We are very aggressive, actually. How? We are somehow or another also on behalf of the Lord's supreme desire, supreme compassion. He is like, as I said, he is in the heart and tolerating and mercifully fulfilling all of our desires, the bad ones also. Okay, you want to kill, you want to do this, do that, yeah, okay, but you get your reactions. He hates to see that. I mean, also because he feels so much pain for all its suffering he caused upon ourselves and upon others. And he does not want that, but okay, he fulfills that. Yeah, okay, you want it. Okay, do it. But as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, together with his weapons, with his devotees, he encroaches upon that freedom of the living being and tries to plant these seeds of bhakti in the hearts of everyone. No, not even human beings, plants, animals, simply every living being should get the mercy of the Lord. This is done in the way of Harinam Sankirtan, for example. When we go on the streets, so many seeds of pure bhakti are planted in the hearts of those who listen or sometimes try to participate. It's really a very wonderful thing to do. It's in the way of prasadam distribution, like Srila Prabhupada mentioned. Prasadam is the secret weapon. So he gave us so much, this wonderful mission he gave us to somehow or another give out the mercy. There are so many ways actually to do that. Even a prayer and a desire of a devotee is a wonderful action actually. So we should pray for others. We should pray for the conditioned souls. We should desire that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement spreads like a wild fire on the entire world, but most merciful, most soothing fire of actually cooling down the horrible fire of material existence in the heart, the samsara, the avanala, this very terrible fire which is there, which we are all burning in. But that fire of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking out the bad fire and helping us to be enlivened in Harinam Sankirtan. The more we come closer to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, the more we are actually alive. This body is described to be dead matter, just because of our soul and the super soul being in that body. The body is somehow alive. But there is also life when our soul really wakes up, when we really feel, when our heart becomes overwhelmed by the burning desire to serve Srila Prabhupada, to serve his mission, to spread this most wonderful mercy to each and every person we meet. That kind of consciousness is really being alive, and it goes further when one makes further spiritual advancement. One comes to the higher stages of bhakti, which are described in Shikshashtakam. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composed the 8 verses, and there is the progression of spiritual consciousness described there. When we reach the state when we become very, very humble, very, very tolerant, and very respectful to everybody, just not desiring any respect for ourselves. We just then our spiritual life starts becoming very strong, you can say. We come to the higher stages, like when our material desires and attachments just become completely nullified. We just desire to simply serve the Lord life after life. We have this higher taste already, this ruchi, that there is nothing. We have such a higher taste of that incredible absorption in the service of spiritual masters and Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that there is nothing which can really bother us or entice us in this world. We know there is something so much higher and so much better. There is one statement of this beautiful calendar of Srila Prabhupada, which we have here on his table. It's an eternal calendar on each day of the year. There is a statement from Srila Prabhupada. So he just says, the Goswamis, he speaks about 6 Goswamis who were such renunciates. They were sleeping hardly half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours per day, and then maybe eat per night, forgive me. But yeah, that's what I meant, per 24 hours. And and they were just eating their food. What was their sustenance was like some drops of charanamrita, maybe sometimes a little mahaprasada. And how could they survive on that? They still had material bodies, but because they were so absorbed in the higher spiritual consciousness, so they did not need. They were showing how to be devotees on a very advanced level, of course. And then the stages are like that there are constantly tears of love flowing from our eyes, and further on and further on. Then ultimately the last verse of Shikshashtakam describes the consciousness that no matter how the Lord treats us, sometimes maybe we are treated in a not very nice way, and we feel deep separation from the Lord, and we are somewhat neglected and maybe suffering condition. But we will never give up on His service. This is, let us say, like a last test that we are put into. Because it is said that the gold has to be purified by fire, the jewels in our heart has to be purified from the dirt. So we are put into the fire. We are put into different trying situations. And one of the worst tests, it is said, like a dark night of the saint, is when we are really put into the greatest suffering, that we feel neglected by the Lord. We feel like rejected by the Lord. And the whole world may reject us. Even the devotees may reject us. Once my spiritual master once was mentioning about that, this is really a very hard test when we are even rejected by the whole Vaishnava community. But we are never giving up on our surrender to our spiritual master in Krishna. Then we are purchasing the Lord. So yes, this path is not cheap. There is a price of surrender, but it's at the same time so beautiful and so rewarding and unbelievable, indescribably wonderful. And I think all of us are here because we perceive that wonder and that beauty, that love. We have some drops of realizations of that, and that will continue more and more and more. It is said that even when the soul finally reaches the spiritual world, also we are still making spiritual advancement by coming closer and closer to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and Krishna and their associates. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. So back to this verse. So Srila Prabhupada, he, with his causeless compassion, is just explaining to us that the material desires which we may still harbor in our hearts are such ignorance that they will always lead to frustration. Anything material, by his causeless mercy, actually, he constructed the material world in this way, that just to help us to be pulled out from this material world, that no matter what we get or don't get, we will always become frustrated. So this is great mercy. And why is it so? Yes, because we are spiritual beings, and nothing material can really satisfy our soul. So Srila Prabhupada has given us everything in his books, and we are under his kind guidance of his surrendered devotees, whom we may accept as our spiritual masters and Shiksha Gurus, Diksha Gurus, guides, spiritual brothers and sisters, and we have a wonderful spiritual family, which we have to be so grateful about, because each devotee is representing Krishna. This is the pure spiritual vision, representing Srila Prabhupada, representing our spiritual master. And sometimes when we may not appreciate enough, or we are sometimes, because it's so easy to see with the material vision each other. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, there is a verse which describes, and the purport of Srila Prabhupada, which describes that the material vision which we may have is the basis for all offenses. And it is said that the only thing which can really stop us on that path, it's the offenses. As we, I think, said recently, that Lord Krishna, he does not take really so much offense. Lord Vishnu, okay, there is an offense to the Supreme Lord, but it's very easily forgiven, because the Lord is like a kind father. But the offenses towards his children, that's very hurting to the Lord's heart. So it starts with the material vision, that we see each other in a material way, and we don't really understand how dear each and every person is to the spiritual master, to Krishna. And we take for granted that association, and then maybe Krishna sees, okay, if we insist on that, so sometimes he has to put us out of that association for some time, just to cure us and understand, oh my God, how each and every devotee is so important for my life, for my spiritual survival. It is said actually that in Kali Yuga, the means of our liberation is Sankirtan. It's together kirtan. We are too weak, and Kali is too strong, and Maya is too strong. So just to really make it on our own, Srila Prabhupada said it's a hallucination. It's actually impossible. So we need each and every devotee as our support on our path, and we have to be just so grateful that we have that association. So let us cultivate the spiritual vision. Once Srila Prabhupada was sitting with his disciples, and he told them, if you would know who each other of you is, you would faint. So yes, we may think, oh, this boy joined like 1 year ago, a new devotee. Oh, okay, this person, okay, did nice service, but I know his weaknesses, or this and like that, and we can continue on and on and on, because I think it's like also like a pastime of the Lord. He just covers really who we are to ourselves, to protect us from pride and from each other's vision, because he wants us to become very humble and realize the deep spiritual appreciation of each and every one of us, and he tests us also. Anyway, that's my understanding. He is covering it, but we have to understand that each and every one of us who sits in this room has been in all universal direction, in all forms of life previously. We have been as demigods, we have been down in hellish planets, we have been everywhere. We are all species of life, so we have done so much. And we don't have to really feel deprived also. We have enough experience, and now the Lord is bringing us back to Godhead. So we have done a lot, each and every one of us. But we don't see that, and we just see the externals. And it was actually my spiritual master. Once we were on yatra, on a pilgrimage in Jagannath Puri, and we were maybe 7,000 devotees sitting in a big pandal there. And suddenly maybe 7,000. Yeah. now in Govardhan Puja, there is also today is the last day of the pilgrimage with our spiritual master. There are 10,000 devotees in one big pandal. Yeah. So and suddenly Guru Maharaj was speaking, and suddenly he stopped and he looked on all of us there sitting in the big pandal, and he said, Krishna is really is making us more humble by keeping us like in our consciousness a little bit down, that we don't see really our spiritual advancement. We don't see who we are, what we have done. No, we just see, if we are especially like a little more purified, we start seeing, okay, I have this bad quality and that bad quality, and you kind of, and I'm not such a great devotee, I have so many faults, I cannot manage this, I cannot manage that. But this is His special protection that we cannot see actually where we are. But the fact is, just from external point of view, we are very close back to Godhead. Very close, yes, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, maybe one life, two lives, who knows, but we have opportunity in this life already. Like just I have to mention about my husband, like it's such a wonderful thing. What happened actually, he left, it's very painful, like for me, and okay, he did not want to leave also, but our spiritual master, he said he went back to Godhead. So yes, and he was one of us. So he went back to Godhead. So maybe we can also do, and especially we can pray to him, and he is so merciful. He is so shining with spiritual happiness. So he can bless us also. He will petition on our behalf. So we have the connections. We have connection to Srila Prabhupada, to our spiritual master. Yeah, we are very close. So let us take advantage of that. And Krishna somehow or other keeps us humble by not seeing, but still we should understand that there is a great fortune for each and every one of us by this incredible mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and let us take advantage for his pleasure. So I will stop speaking. I spoke a long time, so thank you so much for your kind attention, and if you want to say anything about Srila Prabhupada, it will be really very wonderful. Please come. So His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Savior of all of us in Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.